On the 21st of August 2023, a DPD van arrives in the heart of the suburban streets of Shrewsbury. A normal day like any other, but in a blink of an eye, things were about to take an unexpected turn for the worse. A turn which involved extreme violence and even murder of the delivery driver. And believe it or not, the flame was lit at the Kababi tournament, of all places. So let me tell you a story about the hunt for a delivery driver. Okay, so to address the elephant in the room, and for those of you who don't know what the Kababi tournament is, Kababi is basically rugby, wrestling, tag, and so much more, all mixed into one. 2 teams of 7 players all take turns to run after and try touch players from the other team without being captured. But still, that doesn't explain how the murder all started at the Kababi tournament. But before I tell you about the aftermath, let me paint you a picture first. Meet Aurman Singh. Now, Aurman on the surface seemed like every other normal young dude living in the UK. He was just in his early 20s and trying to earn some bucks, working as a DPD delivery driver, dropping off parcels to others' homes. Surely, a delivery driver couldn't have enemies, could he? Well, this wasn't just a delivery driver. You see, Aurman Singh had not been seeing eye to eye with local Sandwell-based sick gangster, Geetha. No, Geetha is not the name his parents decided to label him with at birth, but it is a name he adopted as his street name. During a dispute over money, Geetha slapped Aurman, which pushed the delivery driver to join a rival gang. Months after the infamous slap, spirits were high as crowds enjoyed a local Kababi event, but that would soon change. Violence erupted seemingly out of nowhere as gangsters stormed the fields with machetes, swords and guns. Men were slashed and one unfortunate soul was even shot in the leg. But how could a simple slap and violence at the Kababi tournament have anything to do with one another? And how on earth they could lead to delivery driver's death? Well, just stick around and we'll get into that a bit later. On the mentioned 21st of August 2023, Aurman was going about his day, doing his usual deliveries. But little did he know that he was being watched and followed. He continued about his business, doing what he always did for DPD, when suddenly his entire world came crashing down into a violent and vicious end. His attackers pounced like predators, catching Aurman unaware and unguarded. Unfortunately for the young delivery driver, Aurman was brutally murdered and found lying in the streets of Shrewsbury, lifeless and in a pool of his own blood, beaten to the death in the most brutal way possible with a hockey stick and shovel, no less. This was no random act of in the wrong place at the wrong time. This was calculated, planned, and intentional from the start to finish. But who could be behind such an evil act, and why?
Emergency. Hiya, some men have just robbed a DPD van and the delivery driver's on the floor.
They just robbed a DPD van?
Oh my god, they've hit me in the head, yeah. It's really bad, in an ambulance immediately.
Thanks to local residents, the police were alerted to the scene where they found a red DPD van, and of course, Aurman Singh. The murder weapon used was a golf club, amongst others. The killers had beaten Aurman so badly with the golf club that it was reported as being bent in the middle when the police found it. And then the investigation began. CCTV footage from a nearby house showed Aurman sitting in a DPD van not long before the murder took place. As the police got their hands on more footage from the area, they could start filling in the puzzle pieces of what seemed to be such a bizarre ordeal, reviewing hours and hours of footage, hoping for that one breakthrough. And then it came. About an hour before Aurman's death, police spotted 2 vehicles that were both parked, but when the DPD van came past, they proceeded to follow it. Aurman continued on his route, unaware of the danger following him in a grey Audi and white Merc. After the murder, license plate recognition cameras, the police picked up that the Audi involved in the murder was on the move and deployed a state-of-the-art chopper to pursue the vehicle. The chopper tracked the Audi without the murderers knowing and noticed that they abandoned what could be the murder weapon in someone's rubbish bins. A few moments later, the Audi was pulled over and the 4 men inside were arrested, while the other police team went to the rubbish bins and found that the item the suspect had got rid of was in fact an axe. With the 4 men being held in jail, the interrogation began. But what would they uncover? Well, nothing much, because 4 men arrested stuck to their code of silence. Except for one of them, but that wasn't enough. Scratching their heads, trying to figure out why a group of guys would kill Aurman seemed to have led them into a brick wall, until they received information about the violence at the Kababi tournament, and that these 2 incidents might just be linked. It came out that apparently Aurman was being blamed for the injuries sustained by another individual at the event. But what would lead the Sikh gang to believe Aurman was involved, and how could the police verify this? Well, after reviewing the footage, an important breakthrough was discovered. At the Kebab tournament, there appeared to be a man sporting a black beanie with some letters on. Surely this was Aurman. Now, finally, we have a motive. Could this all have been done to seek revenge for the Kababi event? While analyzing the footage, the police received a groundbreaking call. Now remember, they've arrested 4 guys believed to be in connection with the murder of Aurman Singh. On one of these guys, there were blood spots all over his high-top sneakers. But that's one thing. Now let's go back to the groundbreaking call. A local lady phoned in to say she had picked up a shovel and a hockey stick in the nearby bushes while going for a walk. As fate would have it, she read up on a murder case later that day and clicked that the items she picked up may have been used in the commission of the murder. She alerted the law enforcement and showed them the area the items were found in, which led them on a search where they found a big wooden plank with a blood on the end. Now the police could run a forensic DNA test to see if the blood found on the shoes, wooden plank, and the head of the golf club, which was also recovered, would give them any results. And it absolutely did. The DNA confirmed that it was Aurman's blood, and that the golf club had been used by suspect number 4, Arshdeep Singh, to strike Aurman on the head. Arshdeep could now be charged. Well, what about the remaining 3? Well, what could be a lesson to all of us? The remaining 3 suspects had their phones seized. I get it, it's 2025 and we record everything. But perhaps it's not the best idea to record yourself driving in a car with people holding an axe, which is going to be used for one thing and one thing only. Well, maybe, just maybe, that sounds like a bad idea. The police analyzed the cell phones and stumbled across the video showcasing exactly that. The video was used to link and subsequently charge the remaining 3 suspects, Jangdeep Singh, Manjung Singh and Shivdeep Singh. But there's still one question remaining. How did the 4 suspects know when and where Aurman would be on his delivery route? Through further investigations on the suspects' phones, they noticed that a photo had been sent to Arshdeep about DPD and that the phone calls had taken place. This was all being done by another DPD employee. Who was this inside man? By tracing another number, it led the police to the home of the Sakman Deep Singh. An arrest was made, and he was charged with aiding the suspects in the murder of Aurman Singh. All that was left was to convict them for a brutal murder of Aurman. 7 months later, the verdict was read after months spent in and out of the courtroom. Arshdeep, Manjot, Jagdeep and Shivdeep were all found guilty of murder and sentenced to 28 years in prison each. The inside man, Sakman Deep, was found guilty of manslaughter and sentenced to 10 years in prison. To think it all began with a slap over money and an eruption at the Kababi tournament. Finally, some closure could be given to the family of Aurman as the mourning process continues. The murderers find themselves rightfully behind bars, but one thing that we still don't have answers on, and perhaps we never will, is what happened to the guys in white murk. If you think that was wild, you should definitely make sure to check out our videos on how McDonald's was saved by one jingle and whether Hollywood is making people homeless on purpose. You may just be in for a quick shock.